Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Yomi Menachos. Daf Ayin Hey. We begin at the Mishnah on Daf Ayin Daled Amud Beis, around 10 lines from the bottom of the Amud. So typically, in a mincha there are 3 oil applications. 3 times you add oil. Once before you begin, into the empty kli, into which you pour the flour afterwards. So first you put oil, then you add flour. Then when you are boilel, during the balila, the mixing, you add some more oil as well. And then comes yitzika, which is the final application on the finished product. You pour a little oil on top. Says the Mishnah, basically all menachos, except for the ones that are called ma'afei taner. All the menachos need those 3 oil steps. Kol menachos and asas b'kli, all menachos that are generated in a kli, as opposed to the ones that are baked, that's the ma'afei taner. So before we begin, there were basically 5 types of mincha in terms of format. So a person donates a mincha, you can donate either something called minchas soiles. That's the flour mixed with oil. Then we have machmas, which is fried on a shallow fry, which is a bit stiffer material. You have marcheshes, which is a deep fried, which is more fluffy and oily. And you have the ma'afei taner, the ones baked in an oven, which actually split into 2 variations. You have the chalois, more of a thicker, larger entity, more like a challah, like a loaf, and you have rikikin, the flatter, more like the cracker types. Those are under the ma'afei taner umbrella. So you have soiles, machmas, and macheshes, and you have ma'afei taner, which covers 2 types. So all except for ma'afei taner will have yitzika as well. Ma'afei taner does not have yitzika, as we're going to see later in the Gemara. Says the Mishnah again, all menachos that are generated, that are made in a kli, as opposed to in an oven, as the ma'afei taner is, they each require 3 applications of oil. And we start actually from step 3, we're sort of going to work backwards. Yitzika, which is the final pouring on the final product. Ubelila, some oil mixed in while it's being mixed in. Umatan shemen mekli, and placement of oil in the kli before you even start, before you add the flour. Now, when we do belila on the mincha, at what point does that happen? While it's still in its flour dough form, or after you've generated the chalais? Chalais belila. The Rebbe holds that the belila takes place when it's already challah, when it's already sort of into a unit. Whether it's machvas, marcheshes, which is fried, or whether it's the chalais of the ma'afei taner. Once you have the challah in hand, as we're going to see later, you sort of fold it, break it up into pieces, and then you mix it with oil. Divrei, that's the opinion of Rebbe. V'chacham oimrim, no, you do the belila before it's fried, before it's baked. V'chachamim oimrim soiles, when it's still in its flour or dough form. Now we shift to ma'afei taner, which we explained has 2 types, chalais and rikikin. So the chalais needs to be mixed with oil, as we just explained. Chalais, tunes blila. But the rikikin form of ma'afei taner, the cracker type, that does not have blila. So although you apply oil, but not in a mixing format, you smear it on top as a layer. Or rikikin meshicha, you smear it on top, as the pasuk says. They meant to do so. Keitzad moishchan, how do you go about smearing the oil on the cracker? Kamin ki, like a Greek letter key, which some learn as like a test, some learn as like an X. Now, that's not really going to use up all the oil. Vashar, nechon l'kayan, the rest you give to the kayanim to enjoy. Mishnah began that all menachos, except for the ones that don't need a kli, right? All the ones that do need a kli need 3 matanois shem and 3 oil applications. Mutim as opposed to what? There are probably mutim mifchas ma'afei, which is not considered nasa b'kli, which does not have yitzika. So the first 2 steps it has, but not the third, which is yitzika. Tanar Rabbanan. How do we know that a standard mincha has 3 oil applications? We have the minchas marcheshes here. Soiles b'shem ateyos. Soiles into the shemen. Apparently the shemen was there before. Malam shetuna matan shemen makli. We learn from here that the oil goes in first, and then you add the flour. Now it says karbonecha over here, and it also says the word karbonecha by the Menachos machvas. Karbonecha looks at Roshava, we connect the two, and we sort of cross-reference and compare notes. Makan, just like here by the Marcheshes, it stipulates the first step of oil, matan shemen makli, before you add the flour, afla halonle. Same by the machvas, you execute this first step, matan shemen makli, and vice versa. Just like over there it says that you mix, you do the soiles belula b'shemen, and then it says you do the yitzika. So just as we learned that over there we have the next two steps, belila and yitzika, umala halon yitzika belila. Afkan here as well by the marcheshes, you do yitzika belila. Hence we know that all menachos need matan shemen makli, belila, and yitzika. Okay, so once we know it by one, by the other one, we know that it applies to all of them except for the ma'afe pataner with respect to yitzika, which will be exempted later in the Gemara. Okay, when we do the belila on the mincha, at what point? Flour dough form, or once it's already chalais? Machlekes on that. Chalais. The Rebbe says it's chalais. Then have the belila done. No, when it's still in its flour dough form. Here come the respective sources. The pasuk says soiles belula. So the belila takes place when it's soiles. Malamid sheniv lela soiles. That's the source of the chacham. Belila is when it's soiles, not when it's formed as a chala. Rabbi disagrees. Rabbi Yom chala is belula. The belila takes place when it's already chala. Shenamar chala is belulas. Okay, so we learn from here, belila is synonymous with the chalas. Amr le chacham responded, you can't say that. Why? Nemar ben chalas. We find that when one brings a toida, he brings along chalas, right? And there as well it says chalas malis matzis belulas b'shemen. And you can't say that it means literally you do belila when it's already in a challah form. There isn't enough oil to go around. Once it's baked, it's dry and absorbed. It's going to suck in the full. There's not enough oil to go around in that case. Ella only soiles when it's still in its dough form. So that's an indicator as to when you do belila in general. You do it when it's soiles. Okay, now the Brisa will delineate the step-by-step process of making a mincha, first according to the Chachamim, then according to Rebbe. First application of oil into the empty kli. You add the flour. You add the oil when you mix it. You knead it. You add some water, right? Then you bake it or you fry it, each mincha, respectively, according to its required format. Then you slice it up into pieces, as we're going to see later in the Gemara and the Mishnah. And then you do yitzika, for those that need yitzika. And you do the kmitza. That's the chacham. Rabbi Yomer, no. Chalis by the lunch. Nema chalis belulas b'shemen. According to him, the belila with oil takes place when it's already in its challah form, whether baked, fried, depending on each mincha. So according to him, what are the required steps of making a mincha? First, you add the oil. You add the flour. You knead it with the water. You bake it or fry it, etc. And then you break it into sections, into pieces, and then you mix it up with some oil. And then you do the third application of oil, which is yitzika on the finished product. Now, what did the Chachamim mean when they said, well, it's impossible that the lachmei toida will be mixed with oil at that point? When the Rabban told Rebbe it's impossible, what do they mean? Why is it an impossible proposition? Remember, it's just a small amount of oil that you have over there. A revius has 3 ounces. And and you have tons of breads. How are you going to mix up, spread around? There isn't enough to go around. Okay, so apparently it takes place earlier when it's still in its flour dough stage, in which case even a little bit of oil can be distributed and mixed around. Okay, now we shift to mafei taner, the baked type, which has two variations, chalais and rekikin. And again, this does not need the yitzika, but it needs the first two oil applications, the second of which is called belila, of course. And when does that take place? So again, according to Rebbe, let's just divide it to chalais and rekikin. Chalais have belila, according to Rebbe when it's already chal, according to Rabbanan when it's still soilus, and the rekikin experiences a slightly different process called meshicha. So you smear some oil on the top of the rakik, of this cracker. Chalais tunes belila, and not meshicha, but rekikin meshicha, and not belila. Rabbanan, how do we know that each one has its own unique process? Rabbanan chalais belulas. Pasuk says the chalais are mixed with oil, v'lo rekikin belula, and not the rekikin. So only chalais have belila, and not rekikin. I would think otherwise. Perhaps I would generate otherwise through logic, through kal v'chomer. Uma chalais she'enan tunes meshicha. If chalais do not need meshicha, only rekikin do. Still, despite missing that step, tunes belila needs belila. Rekikin she'tuna meshicha. Rekikin that have meshicha done to them. Wouldn't you agree? In addition, of course, she'tuna belila is belila. Talmud Bavli comes to pasuk chalais belulais. Belila is exclusive to chalais and not to rekikin belila, rekikin belula. And the same in the reverse. Rekikin are meshuchan. Rekikin have that smear. Chalais do not. V'lo chalais meshuchas. Why would I think otherwise? Perhaps I can speculate otherwise. Since rekikin do not experience belila, despite that they have meshicha, tuna meshicha, chalais which have belila, shtunas belila have an advantage, and then of course shtunas meshicha needs meshicha. Tamalaymar says the pasuk, no, rekikin are meshuchan, but not chalais. V'lo chalais meshuchas. Now, my Talmud, how do you know that this is specific to this and this is specific to that? Perhaps once the pasuk reveals to us that chalais have belila and rekikin meshicha, perhaps you apply both processes to both. Amarava, take a look at the Chamisha Chumshei Torah, wherever it discusses this topic of chalais and matz, we never find any cross reference, any crossover. Lo l'shtamit kra v'lichta. We never find that a pasuk would deviate and write it differently. That chalais are meshuchim, meshuchais and rekikin are belula, and we never find a crossover. It's always this exact way. Chalais are belulais and rekikin meshuchim. Clearly, this is the way it's meant to be done. Okay, so regarding the Mashiach and Rekikin, how do you go about it? According to our Mishnah, you do a key letter on it, and the rest of the oil give to the Kayhana. My kimin key, what exactly is the letter key? Or Avkana kimin kinyavani, like a Greek letter key. Tanarabanan. Here comes a different shita as well. So according to our Mishnah, leftovers are given to the Kayhana. There's going to be another shita which says, no. The leftover oil is meant to be somehow incorporated into the bread. It's meant to resmear it until you get it fully in there and nothing left. So, for example, you have mincha ba mechza chalais mechza rekikin. A fellow pledged a minchas mafer and decided to bring 5 of each type, which according to Reb Shimon is acceptable. We hold it has to be 10 of either one or the other. According to Reb Shimon, you can mix and match. You can take a minchas mafer and split it 50-50. 5 chalais, 5 rekikin. That's what he brought. And you have that lug shem, and that comes along with it. Now, it's a little tricky because the chalais are meant to undergo belila, rekikin, meshicha. So which one do you do now? Very simple. Maybe lug shem, and you bring the same lug of a chatzei, you split into 2. Chatzei l'chalais. Half is meant to be mixed in with the chalais, v'chatzei, the other half, the rekikin, to smear the rekikin. The chalais you are boiled on, you mix it with the oil, or rekikin, moishchan, you smear it. So firstly, according to this shita, it's not just a limited letter key. You do a full smear on the top surface of the rakik, and the leftover oil is not directed to the kayhana for personal consumption. No. And it's meant to be somehow incorporated into the carbon. So in this case, you have an easy solution. Just send it over to the chalais and mix it up, and you've depleted your oil. Ushar Hashem and the rest of the oil, machzir l'chal, put it back to the chalas. So clearly, according to this opinion, leftover oil in this case does not go to the Kohanim. Rabbi Shimon ben Yehuda, Mishum, the name of Rabbi Shimon, he disagrees. He goes like our Mishnah. Firstly, Moishchan Kiminki. You should know that it's a very slight smear. And leftover oil to the Kohanim, Ushar Hashem, Nechel Kohanim. Tani, we have another brayso which brings these two opinions. Let's say he brings a set of just crackers. Maybe Lug Shem, and he brings the lug of oil. He smears and smears and smears till he depletes the entire oil supply. Until the entire oil is depleted. So he's sort of in line with the earlier shita before. However, Reb Shimon, he quotes Reb Shimon, as we said a minute ago. First of all, Moishchan Kimiki, just a slight smear, and the leftover to the Kohanim. Okay, so far we have is like this. A standard mincha has 3 matanos shemen, initial oil into the kli before the flour, then while you're mixing, and then a final sprinkle on the finished product. Mata shemen bekli, belila and yitzika. As opposed to minchas mafei taner, which only has the first 2 applications, not yitzika, which will be proven in the Gemara coming up soon, based on a pasuk. Now, whenever we do belila on chales, whether it's seilas, machmas, macheshes, or chales of the mafei taner, how do you go about it? According to Rebbe, when it's already challah form, according to Rabbanan, earlier in the dough process. How do you do the mafei taner? Chales you do belila, and rekikin you do mashicha. How do you do mashicha? 2 shitas. Okay, now we shift to pesisa. Kol ha-menachos and asas b'kli tunis pesisa. Your standard mincha, which is done in a kli, needs pesisa, which means after it's baked or fried, you fold it up and you crack it into sections, and then you do the kmitza, as we're going to see later in the next sugya. But first, we're going to discuss which menachos are covered by this halacha. L'mutimai. So when the Mishnah says all menachos that have a kli had pesisa, as opposed to which ones that do not, or rapapa l'mutei shtei alechem lechem apanim. Shtei lechem on shvuos, lechem apanim on a weekly basis do not have pesisa. They're not considered nasas b'kli. They're baked in an oven. They have a different system. Now you would think that we should exclude also mafei taner, which are not considered nasas b'kli, but the Gemara will tell us actually, no, mafei taner is going to be covered by pesisa as well. In this mission, we're not excluding mafei taner. Taner Rabban, pasa is oisa pisa. Minchahi. Okay, this is the pasuk by the Minchas Machmas. Break it into sections. Pasais, oisa pisa, which sounds redundant. Pasais, pisa. So first of all, mincha, he tells you, the rabbis, kol ha-menachos, the pesisa, every mincha, including mafei taner, here we go, is also going to experience pesisa. What about shtei alechem? Alechem apanim. Yochel shanimar, perhaps I'll also include shtei alechem, lechem apanim for pesisa. Tamaleima, the pasuk says, pasais oisa, only this one, as opposed to something else. Tamaleima oisa, as opposed to the shtei alechem, lechem apanim. Fine. The same pasuk continues with Yitzakto Oleho Sheman, which is the Yitzika process. Yitzakto Oleho Sheman Minchahi. So the word Mincha tells you to apply Yitzika to all Menachos. The rabbis call it Menachos, the Yitzika. What about mafei taner, which we excluded earlier from Yitzika? Yochel Shani Mar Baf Minchas Mafei. Perhaps I'll apply Yitzika to mafei as well. Tamulei Mar. It says Oleho Sheman. Oleho Sheman is an exclusionary term, to be mamai, to exclude. Or it's okay, so exclude the mafei taner. Or it says achalis. Well, it says rekikin. Now, fine, you're being mamai. Maybe I'll exclude only the chalis of the mafei taner, not the rekikin variation of mafei taner. Tamulema he. The pasuk again has another exclusionary term. It says aleo and it says he. To exclude rekikin as well. My Talmuda. Now, why did you choose to exclude mafei taner? Why not exclude, for instance, a different type of mincha b'kayin, let's say? Perhaps that's going to be left out of Yitzika, not mafei taner. The answer is, we just noticed that the pasuk has 2 miyutim. Now, which mincha in the world has 2 variations? Only mafei taner. Apparently, it's alluding to that. And excluding mafei taner from Yitzika and all its variations. Chalis or kikin. Rabba, ezo davar. Which mincha? Ezo davar should tell shnei miyutim, which requires 2 exclusions, because it has 2 variations. There's only one candidate. That's going to be excluded from Yitzika. So we spoke about pesisa, breakage and sliceage. How do you go about doing that? Well, it depends which mincha we're talking about. Minchas Yisrael, a standard mincha that Yisrael brings, you do it as follows. Koifel, so you take this, let's say the fried mincha, it's like a pancake, right? And you fold it into 2, and then into 4, and you split into sections in preparation for the kmitza. Koifel echad l'shnayim, and you fold it again, shnayim l'arba, umavdal, you separate the sections. Minchas keihanim, mincha that a kohen offers, which will not have kmitza, although you do a fold, but you don't actually split apart the sections. You do a double fold, to 2 to 4, without separating. Minchas Kayin, Mashiach, which is a third type, a daily Minchas Chavit that a Kayin Gadol brings, you wouldn't fold it. Now the Gemara explains this to me that you don't fold it into 4, like double, just one time into 2. Reb Shimon takes issue. He says, you know what? I understand that a Minchas Yisrael has to go through this process because, according to him, this is in preparation for the kmitza. You fold it, you split it, you have pieces, and you do kmitza. But a mincha of a kohen, and certainly a mincha, they don't have kmitza. So there's no need to do all this whole thing. You don't split it at all. Reb Shimon Aimer minchas keihanim, which was the second on the list, minchas kemeshech, the third on the list, ein ben psisa, there's no psisa, there's no foldage. Because no kmitza. And they're linked, they're synonymous. There's no kmitza, there's no psisa, which according to him is merely a preparation for the according to some shittas. Shimon here is speaking, and he's disagreeing with the Tanakama, who says that it's just a fold, and no, you split into little mini pieces. You almost crumble it, having each piece merely a kazayis in size. Tanarabana. Pasais oisa pisim tells you, pasais yachol yeshnayim. You just do it a single fold, 2 pieces. Pisim says do it more. Well, maybe you'll crumble it. Eat pisim, if you focus on pisim, maybe just smash it into crumbles. Yachal yasana pirudin tamalayma oisa. Pasais oisa pisim. Hey, hold it, slow. You take the actual pancake. Oisa lipsisim. You take this one and you split it further. So you do 1 fold and another one. So that's how far you go. You don't take the pieces and crumble it further and further, so it stops there. 1 fold, another fold, and you're done. Okay, so how do you go about doing this? Minchas Yisrael, which is the first on the list, you do 2 and then 4. Umavla, you split into pieces. Minchas Kehanam, which was the second one. Minchas Kemashiach, would also fold it. And there's a gears on the side. At the Brisa says, that's by the Minchas Kehanim. Minchas Kemashiach, Hayamakapli would split it. In any case, this contradicts our Mishnah, which says that Minchas Kohen Mashiach doesn't have anything done to it. There's no folding at all. In our Mishnah we learn, Lo Hayamakapli wouldn't fold it at all. Amar Rabba. The Mishnah also meant the same. Eina Makapli Arba. Minchas Kohen Mashiach is not folded into 4. Aval Makapli Shnayim, but a single fold into 2 is done. And the Mishnah concludes with the sizes. How big is each piece? Each piece, it's a kezayis. Interestingly, this will take us into a sugya regarding hilchos brachos. Lechem, mezoines, amar Yosef. Let's say you have small pieces of bread, you have crumbles. What happens? Does it change the bracha or not? Amar Yosef, hay chavitza. You have some sort of food made out of bread crumbs or whatever. Okay, Rashi says, seems to say that was cooked. Tosfos says kashas. He says no, it was just stuck together with binding, materials, honey, whatever. And you have this like mush comprised of a little piece of bread. Hachavitza is papirur, has crumbs. Each one is a kazayis in size, so it retains its bread status. Which bracha do you make on this food? But that's because it's a kazayis in size per piece. Iles papirurim, but if the crumbs in there are too small than a kazayis, the bracha now shifts. It loses its bread status, its hamaitzi status, and now merachin alei, we make a bracha like a piece of cake, like a cookie. How do we know that a kazayis retains its bread status? Asanya, we have a brayso regarding a kohen, all excitedly coming into the Beis Hamikdash for the first time this year or whatever. or he's coming to do his twice yearly shit, whatever, different ways to explain. But in any case, he's coming in all excited to do his duty, the Beis Hamikdash, and he brings a mincha, he offers processes a mincha, Menachos, Yerushalayim, Omer, he gets up excitedly and he makes a shechiyanu. Interestingly, there's a whole shaila whether a person makes a shechiyanu when he's appointed as a, to a great position like a rav. Some prove from this Gemara that you meant to make a shechiyanu. Look, the kohen, when he comes to serve, he makes a shechiyanu. Omer, Baruch, shechiyanu, v'kimonu, right? But some disagree. They say, a kohen, yeah, but not a rav. A rav, Hyrya says that in Klal Yisrael, the position of leadership isn't about prestige and honor. It's about the subservience to the community. It's like an eved, like a servant, right? Abdus. Would a person make a shechiyana when he turns into a slave? Interestingly, the Chasam Sefer brings in his tshuva that there was once a rav, a new rav, appointed rav. His name was Rav David Stroz Katz. In any case, so the first time he got up to speak, he said, "Vayvarach David." We say in the davening, "Vayvarach David," and he said, "Baruch Ata Hashem Elokei Yisrael." This was his way of blessing Hashem without outright saying the shechiyana, which was questionable. So he made his he figured out a way to bless Hashem, to make a bracha without an actual shechiyanu. Interesting. I also saw that there was a minhag in Yerushalayim because of this to give the rav. They call it a glima, a nice robe special for the rav. In which case, he can make a shechiyanu on the new beged. This will be also in celebration of his appointment. In fact, even today, I think they call it a glima. The chief rabbi, they have like these. Rav Yosef used to wear gold, black, embroidered. They call it a glima. Perhaps it's rooted in the old minhag to address this shechiyanu, requirement. In any case, so he's making a shechiyanu. Okay, but the main point by us is the next halacha. Not non la'achlan. So he's ready to eat the mincha. Aymer, he says, hamoitz lech min haaretz. Okay, he makes hamoitzi. Now, we just learned that the mincha was crumbled into pieces, right? It was sliced into pieces. V'tanan, and now Mishnah we learn, which explains why it's a hamoitzi, because each piece is no less than a kazayis. Apparently, if it's a kazayis, it still retains its bread status. B'chulan psisin b'kazayis. Only Abaye. Yeah, that works according to this opinion, but L'tana de Bishmuel, a different opinion, who holds that you crush up that mincha until you get it back into its crumb form. The Amar mefarach, and you crush up the mincha shemachzir and the salt until you get it back into it look like flour. So basically, according to that, you mean that according to that he won't make hamoitzi? So perhaps, yeah, the answer is yes. If it's too small, there's no hamoitzi. But we have a brisa which says otherwise. Liket mikulan kazayis ba'achlai. If a fellow, sees he has crumbs there and he puts together, collect some crumbs and to get a total of a kazayis, but they're in crumb form. It has the status of bread with respect to many halachos. He ate this mush. He ate this crumb collection. It's treated like bread. Im chametzu, if it's chametz on Pesach, bad news. Onish kares, it gets kares. V'matzu, if it's matzah on Pesach, great, he fulfilled the mitzvah. Adam yotzei ben dechavasu Pesach, you can fulfill your obligation of eating matzah, even though they're crumbs. And you said it has to be a kazayis. Well, says the Gemara, typically it does have to be a kazayis, but here it's a special case. My skin was speaking b'shei irson. He took these breadcrumbs and he formed them into a dough, connected them with some flour, with some whatever, right? So it's like a matzah ball, taking matzah meal and turning it into a new entity. That's considered a new bread. Who cares that it was originally a broken? Right now, he turned it into a new entity. Now it's a kazayis of bread or chametz or matzah. Yach, if that's the case, that is a single unit. How would you explain the next part of that brisa? It's only considered an act of achila if he ate them. Apparently, we're speaking about separate crumbs within the required share achilas pras, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, whatever the shita is. a meal time frame. If according to you he clumped them together into one, it would be grammatically correct to say he ate it. It's one unit. But that's how it should say, not ate them as crumbs. Says Gemara, you're right. We're speaking about little pieces, but it's still different than our halacha. We're speaking that the original bread is still here. So he chipped off pieces, but the original loaf is still sitting here. So although these are little crumbs, but they relate to the bread unit standing nearby. They connect to it. They identify with it, and that gives them chashivas. That elevates their status, and they are considered bread despite their smallness in size. Okay, so we have a discussion regarding breadcrumbs, smaller than a kazayis. What's their status? Hamaitzi or not? He says no, even if they're smaller than a kazayis, I still consider hamaitzi. Rava, let me add a condition. It's true, but provided the ikut terisa. Terisa is like tsura. They still have a form. They appear. In their appearance, terisa, the nahama of bread alay on them, they still look like bread. Rashi says, Toyaru mara lechem. In that case, even if it's small, it's still hamaitzi. But otherwise, if it's been cooked up and whatever, it looks like just a big, then if they're smaller than a kazayis, they're no longer bread, they're no longer hamaitzi, they're just mezainis. So bottom line is like this: all agree that if it's a kazayis or more, it's hamaitzi, regardless of its format. Less than a kazayis, according to Rav Yosef, it would be mezainis. According to Rav Sheshes, it would be hamaitzi. And Rav seems to agree with that, provided that it still has the appearance of bread. Okay, in terms of psisa, Menachos Yisrael folded twice and split into pieces. Anticipation of the kmitza, Menachos Kohen folded twice and into four, but not split into pieces. Menachos Kohen Mashiach just folded into two. According to Reb Shimon, Kohanim Kohen Mashiach do not read folding at all. In terms of the sizing of the pieces, according to the conclusion of Mishnah, it's going to be a kazayis in size. And that got us into the sugya of Hilchos Brachos. All the best to you and Atzlacha.